Today I'm making french fries at home 2 ways. One rustic, homey recipe, perfect for poutine and steak frites. And one classic fast food french fry with that signature crunch. I'm a food scientist and I want to share as many tips and tricks throughout this process as possible to make you a borderline spud scholar. 3 main factors go into creating a great french fry: a crispy exterior, a creamy interior, and the degree of browning. This third factor, along with fry width, is what differentiates my methods, and it's not as simple as frying one for less time than the other. You have to select your potatoes based on the specific characteristics you want. Slice them to an appropriate thickness and pre-treat them to encourage or discourage browning, all while preventing enzymatic browning from turning the potatoes gray. Every great french fry requires an equally great potato, and different potatoes behave differently in hot oil. For classic diner-style rich, deeply browned fries, you should select a potato that's considered more waxy. This is typically the opposite of what's recommended for french fries, but let me explain. For these brown fries, you're not rinsing off surface starch or treating them in any solution. You're straight frying them. And if you use a very starchy potato, like the russet, you'll end up with an overly browned exterior with a bitter grittiness. Waxy potatoes also tend to be more rich in flavor and personally nostalgic for this. Fast food fries are essentially the reverse of this advice. You should select a very starchy potato, ideally a russet variety. This starchiness will help these develop an ear-shattering crunch and a pillowy interior. That's perfect paired with a smash burger or dipped in some flavorful custom sauce. And here's a science note that matters more than people realize. Potatoes stored in cold environments naturally convert starch into sugars, a process called cold-induced sweetening. It's basically the potato protecting its cells from freezing damage, but those extra sugars dramatically increase Maillard browning and caramelization when you fry them. This is why fridge potatoes brown faster, darker, and sometimes unevenly. Room temp potatoes brown more slowly and predictably. For rustic potatoes, always use room temperature potatoes, or you'll end up with bitter, overly browned exterior. But for fast food fries, you can use whichever you prefer, because you're washing off most of that surface starch anyway. Enough background. Let me show you how to make it. Thoroughly wash your potatoes and remove any blemishes, green spots, or eyes. Then slice them thick. These can be up to 1 1/4 centimeters or 1/2 inch thick. Yes, that sounds thick, but you need a higher volume to surface area ratio for these fries to have some structural integrity. For my exact method, I use 2 liters of oil heated to 180 degrees Celsius and add 1 potato at a time, frying for 8 minutes. For my testing, I find that this is the perfect range for rustic fries. Just add 1 serving at a time, and keep in mind, the oil temperature will drop as soon as they're added. Do not adjust the burner, as this is part of the recipe. The oil will naturally come back up to temperature, and this will allow for a more evenly cooked fry. Fry them for 8 minutes until they look about as you expect. Now, remove the excess oil and add them to a paper towel lined container, followed by a generous pinch of powdered salt, and give them a spirited shakedown. Serve hot or top with gravy and curds for an ultimate poutine. Oil temperature recovery is one of the most overlooked parts of frying. When you add potatoes, the oil cools rapidly, but if you crank the burner, you risk overshooting and scorching the oil, which leads to bitter flavors and is a literal fire hazard. Letting the oil recover naturally gives you even gelatinization, controlled browning, and a safer frying, with more consistent results anyway. Restaurants use fryers with massive thermal mass for this exact reason. They recover temperature smoothly and predictably. For an at-home method, do not fill your pot more than halfway with oil, or you risk overflow. Moving on to the more technical fast food fry method. Clean your russets as you did with the red potatoes before. Slice them lengthwise into about 3/4 to 1 centimeter strips, or about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch. Fully submerge these in a solution of 1.5 liters of water with 3 tablespoons of white vinegar, simmering on the stove around 80 degrees Celsius, that's 180 F, for 5 minutes. Drain and fully dry with either a towel or paper towel. Fully drying is critical, or you will have a hot oil flying across your kitchen. And I am not kidding. It will go everywhere, and it's so dangerous. Make sure they're dry. For my exact method, I used 2 liters of oil at 160°C, fried for 7 minutes, then shook off the oil. Shaking the fries after the first fry actually damages the fry surface, creating microfractures that lead to a better, crispier final product later. Industrial fryers use air knives for this exact reason. Now, set your oil to 190°C and fry for 3 more minutes until golden brown. In industry, a reference known as the Munsell color chart is used, aiming for a color between 0 and 1 is ideal. Finally, salt and shake off excess grease, same as for the rustic fries. During the first fry, the starch inside the fries is gelatinized, creating a signature fluffy interior that stays intact during the second fry. Because the surface starches were removed earlier, these fries won't brown the same way as the rustic fries do. They simply don't have the same number of reducing sugar sites available for Maillard reactions. The second fry at 190°C rapidly dehydrates the exterior, forming a crispy shell. The microfractures created during shaking help steam escape more efficiently, which is why fast food fries have that distinct shattering crunch. These methods are obviously about as polar opposite as French fries can be, and that's exactly why I wanted to share them together. One produces golden brown, rich, punch-in-the-face, flavorful spuds, where the other has the specific goal of conforming to the standard chart color, uniform dimensions, and controlled browning, by removing surface starch, strengthening the pectins with vinegar, and double frying for precision. My point here is there's no single universal method for making great fries, only methods that serve different goals. Enzymatic browning is caused by polyphenol oxidase in the potato cells, which, when ruptured, reacts with copper oxides naturally present in the potatoes, leading to gray or brown discoloration, known as enzymatic browning. To address this, the potatoes are immediately fried as soon as they're cut, in the rustic method, or immediately blanched in vinegar water for the fast food replica method. In industry, a chemical called sodium acid pyrophosphate is often used, which is actually just an antioxidant. Maillard browning produces the vast majority of French fry flavor. So, controlling the surface starch is critical to controlling how your final product will turn out. The rest of the flavor comes from the potato skin, so if you want an ultra clean and light tasting fry, remove the skin before cutting, though I wouldn't recommend this because it removes a lot of the flavor and what remains of the nutritional value from the potato after frying. I've presented you with 2 fantastic French fry methods. Now, it's just up to you to choose which one you're going to make next time you're craving a filling, cheap, and savory snack. If you enjoyed this video or have any questions, let me know in the comments, and make sure you like and subscribe for more food science and cooking content coming soon.